This is Dr. Wendy Flint, and my presentation today is how I built a course in AI with 14 prompts. Last summer, I had to design a new course called Business as Ministry. I have many years' experience in what I call marketplace ministry. I was in business as a manager for over 30 years, and I wrote devotions to encourage people during that time. Since then, I have studied other ways that businesses can serve people in the marketplace. And at the Christian university I work at, we have this course now, Business as Ministry. I had the whole summer to design the course, but normally it would have taken me 1.5 to 2 months to put it together. And we were learning AI that summer with my colleagues, and I decided to use ChatGPT, at the time 4.0, to help me build this course. So I'm going to go through some of the steps that I took. Again, the title of the course was Business as Ministry. I wrote a prompt for ideogram to create this graphic here. And today I recommend using Nano, Banana, and Gemini. I have a lot easier time doing that. But there are many concepts of business as ministry, including social entrepreneurship, working overseas, and building companies in America that have the values that represent a mission that is values-based or Christian-based. So there's many concepts I wanted to incorporate for students to consider how they could build a business this way. And so prompt number one was to create an outline for the new course. And I was very specific. I said how that the semester was 15 weeks. I suggested some companies that I saw as representing this mission, but I also listed all the other areas that I wanted to cover, such as social entrepreneurship. I gave, when we had a break at Thanksgiving, I described the courses being on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I wanted a presenter every Friday. So I was looking first for an outline, and then I asked Chat, do you have any questions before you begin? And they did have some excellent questions for me, which I provided. So this was prompt number one to create my course. Chat then summarized my weekly structure. It showed what I would do on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then our guest speaker on Friday. The weeks the guest speaker wouldn't be there because the college was closed, how many essays I wanted, how many online discussions I wanted with teams interacting, and the overall 5 sections and topics, and it created an outline for me, which became part of my syllabus. Once I had the outline, I began going forward with more prompts, including creating white papers with PowerPoints to match. I did not have a strong textbook in this area. The BAM textbook I looked at was mostly overseas, and I wanted to be more modern and get some of my own insights in there and have Chat create me some white papers, which I referenced as being written by them. So let me go through many of the prompts that I gave to create the course once I had an outline. So you can see I had exactly 14 prompts, which I documented, and will make all the details available with this YouTube video. So it gave me a course description, which saves a lot of time. And in addition to that, it gave me student learning outcomes based on the information that I gave it that I wanted in the course. It also created 5 sections for me based on the 5 major topics I wanted to cover. And it suggested many topics under there to discuss, like entrepreneurial entry into closed countries, tent making, and business as witness. That refers to Paul in the Bible, who was a tent maker in addition to his ministry. And then it had the guest presenter every Friday. So it did a specific outline with even topics. Some of them I tweaked, most of them I kept, and then I proceeded to work on white papers for those different topics. In prompt number 3, I asked it to create an essay white paper with a matching PowerPoint, and I repeated this process several times. So here we have the introduction, handout, business as ministry, 5 models of marketplace mission. And I asked it to, I knew authors on this and asked it to research the authors I was using in the class, in addition to others I knew that were out there on this topic. And so it pulled in that research. Of course, you can also ask for additional experts in the field. In every white paper I had for students, I said that it was written by OpenAI. I referenced it with input and questions from me for this course. When you are an expert in the field, you really are triggering all your questions, what you want to cover, and you're doing research. It's not just create me a course on business as ministry. It really needs to follow my expertise because, or my presenter's expertise, because I will be lecturing in the classroom. And then after each white paper, I asked it to create a PowerPoint. This is not necessarily using chat the best product for PowerPoints. There's many out there. I'm not going to discuss at this time all the different comparisons. They are improving. My students use Gemini at the university, and I think it's doing a great job. But this just gives you some basic slides that relate to the white paper for me to continue my lecture. And then there were classroom group discussions, and I gave it a rubric for what I was looking for. And they were for large group or small teams. And it allowed me to generate my thinking toward what would I ask on this topic. It really allowed me to be even a better presenter with good questions for students. And we even looked up some of these on AI and got feedback from AI and learned together some additional information that we weren't aware of. And in Prop 5, I had Canvas discussions. So the other was group discussions. This one was Canvas discussions where the teams interact with each other. And it specifically had the directions, when it was due, how many people to respond to, how many words in their first response. And so I would give it a discussion post, a topic, and it created the assignment for me. What I really appreciated was I was using a book called The Christ-Centered Company by Shearer, and I needed to divide up these habits. They were very short chapter readings on habits for a Christ-centered, value-based company. And it had the weeks of the assignments and then when it was due. But the last column, I generated different questions for each week. So students always answered question number 1 on the habits, but they also would rotate either questions 2, 3, or 4. So it was different every week. And then finally, question 5 is that they did create their own question for Gemini and copy and paste the response that they had on that habit, that reflection. So it's what I call a 50% AI assignment, where they're using AI for research. By the way, this was an AI integrated class, and students were learning AI, some for the first time, in addition to the topic. So every week was in class or on assignment was either a 50% or 100% AI integration with guidelines on what that meant, how to do the research, what part of the assignment was their own thinking, their own reflection, what part of the assignment was research in AI. And then they had to note their prompts often in their assignments or teamwork. In prompt 7, I created handouts, a little unusual here for that you might not see unless you were in a theology course, but I wanted them to see that Old Testament figures and New Testament did have occupation, which is of the concept of marketplace ministry. And so this was put together by ChatGPT. I listed the people in the Bible and asked for any additional that I was missing, what their occupations were, what that meant by description, and then where was the scripture that it was listed. I then took this from Old and New Testament and broke into teams and gave each team three or four Old Testament, three or four New, and they did not have this key yet, and they needed to look up and find where they were in the Bible and what their job title was. And each team got up and presented so that just by doing this, they could see that marketplace ministry was throughout the Bible. And I believe I gave them the scriptures to look up to save time in the class. I think the whole assignment was made a point and allowed them to do the research. And then, of course, I had the key with me to see if they were on track with the answers. And prompt eight was the final presentation. They helped me create this assignment where students were creating a company. They had to have a slide deck. They had to do a mission statement, vision statement, and create a business that reflected the things that they were learning. They had to come up with a social entrepreneurship concept that their company would do. And AI also created a rubric for me to grade the team project, which was their final presentation. The remaining prompt included locating for me some podcasts that related to this, them listening to other outside presenters, and doing an AI related assignment. They also had to do an assignment every week on the presenters. And that one, I did not want them using laptops and distracting the presenter while in class. I wanted to just take a few notes so they knew ahead of time the research that they would do, the questions they would ask. AI helped me create that. I told them my challenge of not wanting to use a computer in the classroom, and they gave me three different options that would work, that students could take notes, retain information, and I rotated those assignments through. I needed in-class activities, and it gave me a lot of ideas that were a lot of fun to do in the class. In prompt 11 and prompt 12, I wanted three essays of 1,000 words, and it created the assignments for me. In prompt 13 was my ideogram, and prompt 14 was a 40-point essay for the midterm, because later on I decided I needed a midterm, and so that was my last prompt. All of this was done again in one weekend. I did the prompts and saved all the information on a Saturday, and on a Sunday, I began to put it into Canvas, and I had a total of 15 assignments and quizzes created in Canvas. I probably cleaned it up on a Monday, but basically 2 or 3 days to create an entire course that would have taken me the whole summer. I did incorporate Notebook LM into the course. So sometimes I took my white paper and I uploaded it in Notebook LM and created a video and showed the video instead of me lecturing. It wasn't a favorite choice of the students, but interesting when they were asked to create a video about their company and their strengths, they really enjoyed it and they had a lot of laughter over the videos. So they like creating them. So they learn how to use this tool in the class. I did do a survey at the end that was added to our typical university evaluations, and I added additional questions. And 85% said they will use AI more for research and problem solving. That's 84% strongly agree and agree. 91% said they strongly agreed or agreed that they would improve their research skills. So again, for many, this was a kickoff into using AI. And the other questions that I asked, for example, that had to do with the course, was working with a team to communicate and problem solve and applying business ministry in your life and future. And do you think this would be a good elective for other majors at the campus? So we had other questions related to the course, but I was mostly looking for AI. Also, a survey went out to all students in the College of Business at the beginning of the semester on their comfort and experience in using AI. Was a pre-survey at the end of semester, a post-survey. So all the classes, including mine, also did that survey, and there was a definite increase in comfort and use of AI. That's it for now. Stay tuned for my next video.